Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
This
good.
is Kenneth.
Good, we can hear you.
Hello. Oh,
Hello.
that was quick. I thought I was going to get screen first.
You sound like an expat living abroad.
Well, thank you kindly, but I actually am.
Are you kidding me? You're
I'm
really
a natural
Swedish.
born
Wow,
Swede, yes.
great. You've got the
Wow.
American accent nailed.
I know guys from Sweden who've lived in the U.S. for a decade or more, who still have a very thick accent.
That's
So,
impressive.
yeah.
Well, what can I say? I'm a natural.
Okay, so go for it. Let us have
I'm
it.
also married to an American, so
That probably
helps.
helps, yeah.
Well, first of all, I just want to say a couple of things about previous callers. First of all, the whole abortion question. I don't want to get bogged down in this because I have something I want to get to, but to me, it's just amazing how there's always this assumption that the fetus must be protected from this evil mother. Like people can't trust women to actually want to have children. That's just amazing and confusing to me. And the way you guys have laid this out, I know what you were talking about a moment ago. You laid out in an episode of Godless Bitches, and that totally cleared the whole thing up for me.
Awesome.
So, I didn't know that it was coming out day today, but happy coming out day.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
And I just want to say that there's room for all of us. I think that if it ever seems like there's not room for all of us, it's because people have gotten an idea in their head that some people, don't belong or don't fit in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
So that's just what I want to say.
Good.
So what I really want to talk about is a kind of a heavy philosophical thing, and I think that to me it's best just condensed into the statement that I speak for only me, and with the corollary that only I can speak for me.
Right.
And to me, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this thing, how our minds are so isolated from one another, and how we are, the only way that we can know each other is through getting to know one another and how we express ourselves, and not necessarily through language, but you can get to know people, as I'm sure you both know. You've lived a long time with partners, and you know how you get to know one another beyond words and stuff like that. But still, even though we feel like we understand somebody, there will always be this until we invent telepathy.
Right.
obviously.
Yeah. Which we're working on, actually. It's interesting. They have computers now that can read brainwaves and translate them into images and sounds.
Oh.
So that's cool. One day we may be able to connect a mind to another mind.
I know. Yeah, I was born in
That would
the
be a
early
nightmare.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's a little scary.
When the last people packed up and flew back home from the moon, I was 5 months old. I grew up expecting a fantastical future, and I feel like the future still owes me.
I was going to say, you've been let down, because I wanted my robot made by now, really.
Yeah.
All I got was the video phone, and I want the hover car not happening. It's like, it's not good.
That's isn't that a Western problem, though? Complaining about the things we don't have, not seeing what we do.
First world problems, right? It's that meme.
Yes.
Anyway, our minds are isolated.
And about this this whole concept is that, to me, thinking about this and thinking about how people reason and everything, to me it seems like religiosity can come out of this thing very easily, because I think the realization of how isolated your mind actually is, and these barriers between minds that will always be there, unless, of course, we invent telepathy.
Right.
But barring that.
Until we get the computers finalized.
Yes. I feel like when I think back to being younger, being a kid and growing up before having, I don't know, maybe I'm constructing memories and stuff, but just thinking back how, when you're a child, you feel like you are known, intimately, deeply known by your siblings, your parents, stuff like that.
Some adults still believe that about other people.
Well, and I think also that there is this, when you grow older and you become aware of the fact, and you see in many situations how you fail to communicate with people.
Yes. And
you fail to be understood. I'm thinking of a quote by Tom Lehrer here. talking about how in Books and Place people bemoan for hours the fact they can't communicate with the people they love, and he notes that if people can't communicate, the very least they should do is to shut up.
Okay. Yeah.
But I digress. The thing is that I think that when you reach a point like that, it's a cause of loneliness, and I think that one thing that can sort of push people in the direction of religiosity is that you feel intimately, deeply known on a very visceral level. But
yeah, I you know what? Just to interject, because this reminds me of it. I remember growing up, and when I was little, the question you asked, as far as trying to figure out what religion other little children were being raised in, was, "What do you believe?" Right? What do you believe? And that question was aimed at the entire structure of your church. Like, what church do you belong to, and what do you believe? Because that dictated, right? And that's so weird to me that beliefs are the idea that beliefs are dictated instead of you coming to the belief, right? Which now is how I understand beliefs. But at the time I was little, I had been basically taught, this is our church, this is what we believe. Like, exactly. This is how it was presented. Yeah. So yeah, you do get this weird sort of feeling because they're basically teaching people that we all believe the same thing here.
Right, and it gives the false impression. It's I've heard so many times people calling into your show saying how, usually people call in with a challenge. Not so much now that you're not on
I understand,
on cable anymore, but people calling in and they're sort of challenging you like they are, facing the devil or something like that, and they're asked, well, what do you believe? And when you turn around on them, they get kind of put on the spot, and they will say things like, well, my church believes X, Y, and Z, and my pastor says, and I think that there's obviously intellectual laziness in that, but I think it's also the same way that I feel that a mind has a longing in it to be understood and to be known. I think also the mind can recoil from things that it feels it doesn't understand. And so that it can be comforting to, instead of thinking of these things yourself and formulating your position on them, or just acknowledging that you don't know and that it's okay not to know. There's comfort, there's solace in the thought of just saying, well, my church believes X, Y, and Z about this.
And that's one of the reasons I respect what the previous caller, Till, is trying to do. He's trying to work out in his own mind, how his moral system works.
Right.
And I have a lot more respect for someone like that who's willing to say, hey, maybe right now I don't really have a good basis for my moral views or my moral system, but I'm working on it. Versus somebody who just read it in a book or had it handed to them, here's a list of things thou shalt not do. And these are the rules. And in reality, no one learns their morality from a list of rules. You learn your morality by having your moral judgment challenged at certain levels.
Right.
And you have to work through those problems. And if you don't have your morality challenged, either because you've isolated yourself in a religious community where everybody falls back on the, well, we believe, and there's this sort of corporate we, then you get stuck, and you're basically stuck in the, I think it's Lawrence Kohlberg that has the stages of morality thing, and you get stuck in level 4, which is the law and order phase. It's wrong because there's a rule. Yeah. It says it's wrong.
And these are the people that don't know how to make rules.
Yeah.
Right? They just know how to follow them.
They know there's a rule. And it's also where you see people, they can't own their own bigotry. So, if they tell you, being gay is wrong, they can't tell you why it's wrong. They just go and say, well, the Bible says.
Well, that's the thing. It's not me. It's the Bible. It's like, but what do you think?
It's like,
exactly.
I'm not sending you to hell. God's not sending you to hell. Your actions are sending you to hell.
That drives me up the wall.
Like,
I would like to just interject here for a moment outside the dialogue. If I could get a thumbs up or down from the control room, because we're running long. I'm okay running long.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
I don't want to queue up any more calls, but I'm okay staying to clear the calls that are in the queue right now. And if the control room can just, they're good. So we'll just go ahead and stay, and I will do my best to kind of clear these out. I do agree with what you're saying, Kenneth. It reminds me of a quote somebody told me one time. They're like, do you realize that you use like conversation and intellectual connection as an intimacy, a form of intimacy? And I had never really thought of it like that. But I feel I'm one of those people that I'll go somewhere and I'll meet somebody at some party or something that I don't know. And then at 2 a.m. I'm still, crazy talking to them, and they're talking to me, and then we're like exchanging numbers, and like we're friends for life.
Yeah.
And I think when I have that connection, I just love it, right? It's like you've got this feeling, like you said, you get that feeling that this person understands me. We think a lot, we're simpatico. Right. And it makes you feel, well, for people like me anyway, which it's funny because when someone pointed that out, that's when I first thought, you mean other people don't do this? Because, like, I thought everybody did this. Yeah. It's just rare because I rarely meet somebody who has a meeting of the minds with me like that. But,
and I got to be honest, because I'm a long-time fan of you guys on here and on Godless Bitches. You got to get back together.
Yes, we've been talking about
there is some chat. I don't want to set the interweb on fire, but
yes, we've been talking about this.
But listening to especially the nonprofits, because they're about my age and they're all gamers and everything, I listening to that, I get that exact feeling that you're talking about, like, and it's so dangerous, isn't it, when there is somebody famous or a public figure that you feel like but so I feel a lot like that with you guys, because I recognize your way of thinking and being.
I encourage everyone to Google parasocial relationships and see if that might be you.
I'm not going to get stalky on you or anything.
No, but there are different levels of it, and it's somebody recommended that to me one time on the blog where I was talking about this issue, and they said that's parasocial interaction, when one person is in a relationship with another that doesn't know they're in a relationship. And I'm like, yes, I get that too frequently.
But I'm sure it's not lost on you guys that how important that must be to a lot of people watching this right now, to have this kind of outlet to sort of hang out.
I do want to take this moment though to let people know, and I hope it doesn't break any hearts here, but let people know that we are not atheist TV hosts all the time.
Right.
We have other aspects to our personalities and lives that have nothing to do with the atheist experience that go on for most of our existence. This is a small part of what
we're not
of what
even
we
getting
do
paid today.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we like it, and it's a worthwhile effort.
Yeah.
And, clearly we're here, so we support it. But I think some people, what they'll do is they'll queue up hours and hours of TAE on YouTube, and we become sort of like the host.
Right.
And it's like, no, we're people that do this as a volunteer effort. I'm here every month and a half, maybe. That's like the rest of my life I'm doing other things. So just FYI, don't get confused if you can help it.
You probably blew a lot of minds out there.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing I wanted to say that I've been thinking about, and it's to do with the possibility of an afterlife, because I will agree with you guys that the mind is what the brain does. It's just an emergent property of the mind, and the mind, to my knowledge, can't exist without the brain. It needs a medium. It's like you can't take the process out of your computer and pretend like it's happening outside of your computer. That's how I see it. But when it's about 12 or 13 years ago now, a younger brother of mine died. He was severely handicapped, and so it was expected he actually lived longer than people with his condition do. But after that, my mother, who is a on and off religious person and generally seems to me just very superstitious about things, she was talking about how she was going to go to this guy who was like a medium or something, and who somebody at her work knew through somebody else, blah blah blah. And I said, first of all, I was just floored that that she would entertain that, but it occurred to me that that's about the time kind of that I really learned how deep into woo she is. The thing was that I don't know if she went to this guy, and of course, like all of these people, he since he had been given the gift, he graced other people with it for compensation.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
for free? No. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a gift that keeps on giving, I guess.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I told her, like, she shouldn't do that because, you know, wouldn't she entertain even the off chance that he can't do what he's saying, what he's doing? Maybe he's honestly, you know, believing that he can do it and everything.
Right.
But, and
Yeah.
I said, so I told her, and she got defensive about it, so I didn't push the issue. But I felt like I had to expressly forbid her that, you know, heaven forbid I should pass away before she does.
Oh.
If she
Don't
goes
look
to
for
some
me on the other side.
So,
Oh,
you know,
man.
expressly forbade her to go to somebody because she should understand that if she goes to somebody and they're not what they say they are, then somebody's just sitting there ad-libbing, lying
Yeah.
about what's
Yeah.
going on
Yeah.
inside my mind, something that we can't know even while we're alive. And to me, of course, it's all a scam. Some
Yeah.
people, I'm sure,
It's funny though. It's
understand
like
that they're...
if you go to a psychic after I die, I'm not going to talk to them.
Yeah.
So
Right.
don't even try it.
Yeah,
'Cause
so if they tell you
if
I'm saying
reach me,
anything, you know
I'm
they're
not
lying.
talking to
Yeah.
them. So
And I want to recommend actually on YouTube, the Richard Dawkins Foundation put up an hour and a half long video of Richard Dawkins hanging out with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And Tyson said the best thing when somebody said that they'd had an experience talking to an old dead relative, what did you ask them? Like, did you ask anything important? Because all they ever
where'd
said
you hide the
was,
money,
"I'm-"
Grandpa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there was a caller a few years back who said, when he was approached by somebody who said, "Well, I can hear him, and he says everything's okay now," to ask him what Kepler's third law was, because the person would know what Kepler's third law was. But this guy just said, "Oh, that's not important now in the afterlife," or some bullshit like that. So there's never any pertinent information. But
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
goes to it really goes to this thing, and as you may have understood, I've thought a lot about this, about how the isolated nature of the mind, and how we're limited in our way, in our ability, not only to express what's going on inside our heads, but we may also be limited in the way that we understand ourselves. And I don't know, to me it can seem so sweepingly, enormously tragic that all of us are walking around islands to one another, and we hear only faint echoes in the distance of what's really going on. So I'm really hoping that telepathy does
Well,
get
I mean, if you think about
invented,
it,
because-
it may not be quite that bleak, Kenneth. I mean, we are all human beings, and we all share an evolutionary history. So I think there's a lot that we do have in common. You know what I mean? It's not
I agree.
necessarily that we're so totally different. We can never, ever connect. But I do agree with you that we probably think we connect more than we do.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm actually reminded of a movie I saw a long time ago. It was, I think, the Coen brothers' first movie, or their breakout movie, called Blood Simple, which is a story that ends very badly for many people, that could have been prevented if just one of them had opened their mouth and said 10 words at the beginning.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
Tragic,
and-
tragic.
Yes.
We got other callers, Kenneth. I'm going to have to cut you off.
I
don't
just
wanna
want
be
to say
rude.
one last thing
Okay.
about morality, where I get my morality from.
Right.
YouTuber Messianic Maniac, I'm not sure if you know him, but he said,
Yeah.
when he got the question, where do you get morality from? He said, upbringing, society, and conscience. And I think that's it. Those three things. I don't need to get any deeper into it than that.
Yeah,
and
I think the religious
that should
people,
be good
though,
enough for anybody.
the religious people would probably latch on to conscience, right? They would be
Yeah.
like, well, where did you get your conscience? Because then
Yeah.
that's the arbiter, right, of right and wrong behavior.
Right.
That's Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And they're basically
Exactly.
viewing it as the thing that tells you. And it's like,
Right.
no, it's the innate experience that I have as a socially evolved animal.
Exactly. So, but I'll I'll stop right there because I
Okay.
know how frustrating it is for somebody to go on and not be picked.
We need to hit these other callers and clear our queue. We've got a really nice crew in there working hard too, and they're staying for us. So
Yeah.
and we have people watching, and so we're holding an entire building hostage right now. So
Wow. The
all right.
power we have.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you very much.